If the universe was born infinite, it never had a beginning to expand from. That single thought unravels the foundation of everything we think we know. We imagine a moment, the Big Bang, a flash from nothing into something. But if space was already infinite at that instant, then what truly began? What could it even mean for infinity to start? It's like asking where a circle begins, or what's outside of everything. The question collapses under its own weight, leaving us suspended between awe and absurdity. We look up at the night sky and see distance, stars receding, galaxies rushing away in every direction. The universe, they say, is expanding, but expanding into what? There is no edge, no outer shell, no cosmic wall beyond which lies a void. Space itself stretches, carrying galaxies apart like raisins in rising dough. Yet there is no oven, no container. It is the fabric of reality itself that swells. Still, our minds crave borders, horizons, endings. We are creatures of limits, trying to picture something that has none. Scientists speak of the observable universe, a bubble about 93 billion light-years across. Beyond that lies everything we cannot see, hidden by the speed of light and the age of time. Maybe the cosmos beyond our reach is endless, a sea without shores. Or maybe it curves back on itself, like the surface of a sphere where traveling straight forever brings you home again. Infinity and finitude blur. The universe may be both boundless and self-contained. Yet what truly disturbs us isn't the size of the universe. It's what infinity means for us. If it has no edge, then we are not at the center, nor near the beginning. We are lost within it. Not explorers charting an expanding frontier, but tiny sparks adrift in an eternal ocean that was always there. And still, we keep asking, because somewhere inside, we sense that understanding infinity is the same as understanding existence itself. Stay till the end. Because the answer might not just reveal how the universe began, but whether it ever began at all. The Big Bang may not have been the start, just a change in the infinite. That idea alone shatters every childhood image of the universe's birth, no fiery explosion in empty space, no center from which matter flew outward into nothingness. Instead, there was only space itself, suddenly awakening, stretching, becoming. A transformation not within the cosmos, but of the cosmos. It wasn't a bang in time, it was time beginning to tick. It wasn't an explosion in space, it was space exploding into being. And yet, if it was infinite from the first instant, then nothing ever truly began. The infinite cannot expand, it can only change. In the first 10 to the negative 43 seconds, during what physicists call the Planck epoch, everything we know about physics collapses. The temperature soared to 10 to the 32 kelvins, densities beyond imagination. Gravity, electromagnetism, and the nuclear forces had not yet separated. They were one unified pulse of existence. There was no matter, no light, no atoms, not even particles. Only a seething foam of quantum energy, flickering in and out of being. Beyond that moment, our equations break. Relativity and quantum mechanics, the twin pillars of modern science, contradict each other. To understand the birth of everything, we must understand a moment where everything and nothing were indistinguishable. Then came inflation, the most extraordinary expansion in history. In less than a fraction of a second, the universe ballooned exponentially, Regions once smaller than an atom were stretched beyond the size of galaxies. This sudden surge smoothed the chaos, explaining why the cosmos looks so uniform in every direction today. But inflation wasn't like an explosion tearing through air. It was the stretching of the very fabric of reality. Every point expanded away from every other point. No center, no edge. Every region of space watched every other region rush away equally, like dots on an inflating balloon. But even the balloon metaphor misleads us, because a balloon has an outside, a place where it exists. The universe does not. There was no outside for it to expand into. There was no void waiting to be filled. The Big Bang created space itself. Expansion didn't happen in space. It happened to space. So we face the paradox. If there was no outside, no edge, what was the universe expanding into? The answer may be both simple and impossible. It wasn't expanding into anything. It was simply unfolding its own potential, stretching the meaning of existence itself. If inflation was truly infinite, then the universe may have been infinite from the start. Imagine that. Infinite space, infinite energy, infinite potential, all compressed into a state with no boundaries, but infinite density. Not a dot, not a singular point, but an endless field where every part was the same as every other. There was no center, no edge, just a uniform infinity becoming something more complex. The Big Bang, in this view, wasn't the birth of the universe. It was a phase change in infinity. Like water freezing or boiling, reality shifted from one form to another. And if it was already infinite, what does that mean for beginnings? Beginnings imply something smaller becoming larger, something simple becoming complex, something finite stretching outward. But infinity has no before or after, no smaller or larger. Perhaps the beginning is only a concept within consciousness, a narrative the mind invents to make sense of endlessness. We see time as a line with a start and an end because we live inside it. To the universe there may be no such line at all. Even Einstein struggled with this. His equations of general relativity described a universe that could be static or dynamic, but he believed it must be eternal and unchanging. When his math predicted an expanding universe, he added what he called a cosmological constant, a correction term to hold it still. Only later did he call that his greatest blunder, when Edwin Hubble's telescope revealed galaxies racing apart. But what Einstein saw, unknowingly, was closer to an eternal cosmos than he realized. Because even if the universe expands, it may have no edge, no beginning, and no end. The cosmic microwave background, that faint afterglow left from the Big Bang, gives us our oldest visible light. It's not the explosion itself, but the echo, stretched thin by billions of years of expansion. We see it not as an edge, but as a veil, hiding what came before. Its uniformity is almost perfect, yet not quite. Tiny ripples in its pattern reveal the seeds of galaxies, the first whispers of structure in a newborn cosmos. But even that perfection hints at something deeper. Inflation may not have created those ripples randomly. They may be quantum fluctuations, magnified by the stretching of space. And that means, before inflation, there already existed a quantum field. Infinite in extent, seething with potential. So what if there was no moment of creation? What if the universe didn't emerge from nothing, but as nothing? A perfect symmetry that broke just enough to create difference, contrast, existence. In physics, This symmetry breaking is what allows the universe to have direction, to evolve. Without it, time itself might not flow. The Big Bang might then be the moment when the balance of nothingness tipped, when pure potential decided to become reality. Some physicists go further still. They propose that before the Big Bang, there was no time at all, that the universe existed in a timeless quantum state, described by probabilities, not events. In this picture, the Big Bang was not a bang, but the collapse of timelessness into history, the moment reality chose a version of itself to become. Others imagine that time loops endlessly, that what we call the Big Bang is just one breath in an infinite cosmic cycle, a universe eternally dying and being reborn. But then comes the most unsettling idea of all. What if nothing ever truly began? What if the universe simply is eternal, self-existent, and unbounded? The idea terrifies us because it removes the safety of origin. There's no before to anchor the after. No first cause, no cosmic cradle. Just an existence without a parent, infinite and alone. And yet, this same idea carries a strange comfort. If the universe has always been infinite, then every point within it, including us, is part of that infinity. We are not witnesses to creation, but participants in it, ripples within an eternal wave. Still, our minds return to the edge. We want to know what came before. We imagine a spark igniting, a hand reaching through the void. But physics warns us, before may not exist. Time itself may have unfolded with the universe. Asking what came before time is like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question dissolves itself. And yet, the paradox deepens. If there was no before, how did change occur? How did timelessness give rise to time? Quantum cosmology suggests that even nothing has structure. Fluctuations, fields, probabilities. Vacuum energy isn't empty. It hums with potential, like a silent symphony waiting for a note to play itself. Perhaps the Big Bang wasn't a singular event, but a quantum fluctuation on a cosmic scale. The universe tunneling into existence the way particles appear and vanish in a quantum field. If so, then maybe the infinite wasn't created. It simply shifted. An infinite field of potential collapsed into a pattern. The universe we inhabit. Inflation didn't begin infinity. It sculpted it into form. And somewhere beyond our horizon, beyond what we can ever see, that infinite field may still be bubbling, spawning other universes, each with its own laws, its own dimensions, its own realities. So what, then, is the Big Bang? A birth? A transformation? A mirage seen from within an infinite whole? Maybe it's all three. To us, it looks like a beginning because we can only see the wave we're riding, not the endless ocean beneath. The paradox is that from within infinity, every change feels like a birth. And yet, nothing ever truly starts or ends. Look up again at the night sky. Each star you see is a remnant of that transformation. Every photon traveling across space carries a message from that early chaos. You're seeing the residue of inflation, the ripples of the infinite still echoing through time. The galaxies, the voids between them, the background radiation, the fabric of space, all are frozen waves in a sea that never had an edge. And maybe, just maybe, the reason we can even ask these questions is because the infinite became conscious of itself through us, the universe reflecting on its own origin through a fragment of its own mind. When we ask, how did everything begin? Perhaps infinity is simply listening to its own echo. But if it began infinite, did it ever begin at all? You could travel forever and end up where you began. It sounds like a paradox stolen from a dream, a universe with no edge, yet one that curves so gently it folds back on itself. But this is not fantasy. This is the geometry of reality. The universe may be infinite, or it may be finite, but unbounded. A shape that defies the language of human thought. When cosmologists map the heavens, they are not simply measuring distance. They are trying to grasp the shape of everything. If the Big Bang was not a singular point, but the expansion of space itself, then what was its shape? Was the newborn universe flat, like an infinite plane spreading forever in every direction? Was it closed, curving back like the surface of a sphere? Or was it open, a vast, hyperbolic saddle, bending outward toward an unreachable horizon? To understand this, we must turn to geometry. Not the geometry of lines on paper, but the geometry of space itself. In Einstein's general relativity, mass and energy tell space-time how to curve. The shape of the universe depends on its total energy density. If the density is greater than a critical value, gravity wins, and the universe curves inward, like a ball. If the density is lower, expansion dominates, and it curves outward, like a saddle. But if the density is exactly equal to the critical value, a delicate balance, the universe is perfectly flat. For decades, cosmologists tried to measure that curvature. They looked at the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light in the universe, the afterglow of the Big Bang, stretched thin by time. Satellites like WMAP and Planck traced its faint patterns, measuring minute fluctuations in temperature across the sky. These ripples, remnants of quantum noise frozen during cosmic inflation, act like fingerprints of the universe's shape. And the data tells us something extraordinary. To the best of our ability to measure, the universe appears flat. But appearances deceive. Flat doesn't mean truly infinite. It could simply mean that the curvature is so vast that we cannot detect it. Like an ant walking across the earth, you might think the ground is flat, until you travel far enough to notice the curve. The observable universe, spanning roughly 93 billion light-years, might be only a small patch of something far larger, or even endless. So where does it end? If you could travel in one direction long enough, would you find a wall? Would you reach an edge where stars thin out and time dissolves? Or would you find yourself back where you started? Not because the universe repeats, but because space itself wraps around. This idea, a closed universe, is one of the most elegant possibilities in cosmology. It suggests a cosmos without boundaries, where every path eventually returns to itself. You could sail through galaxies, across cosmic voids, through the frozen dark between clusters, and after unimaginable eons, you'd come home again, from the opposite direction. Infinity disguised as finitude, the universe as a cosmic loop. But then, if the universe loops, how could it have expanded from a single point? A closed universe can still expand, not into space, but within its own curvature. Like the surface of a balloon inflating, every point moves away from every other, yet there's no center. The entire structure grows, and with it, time itself flows outward. What began as a microscopic curve may now be stretched beyond comprehension. Still, not all physicists agree. Some prefer the idea of an open universe, where space curves outward forever. In that picture, you could travel endlessly, never returning, never reaching an edge, always receding into deeper and darker cold. It's a universe that will expand eternally, thinning into emptiness, where even light will one day stretch so far it can no longer bridge the gaps. The cosmos becomes a fading whisper, infinite in reach, but destined for silence. Both shapes, open and closed, are possible under general relativity. Which one we inhabit depends on the total energy of everything that exists. And yet, even with our greatest instruments, we can only observe a fraction of it. The rest, the unseeable vastness beyond the cosmic horizon, remains a mystery. That horizon, the edge of what we can see, isn't a boundary in space. It's a boundary in time. Light from beyond it hasn't had enough time to reach us since the Big Bang. The universe may continue infinitely beyond that invisible wall, but we will never know. Every second, that horizon shifts, expanding as light from more distant regions finally arrives. But no matter how far we peer, infinity stays hidden, like a mirage that recedes as we approach. And so, we are trapped in a paradox. The data tells us the universe is flat, but that doesn't mean infinite. It could be closed, with a radius so vast it mimics flatness within the limits of observation. Or it could truly stretch forever, a boundless plane of space-time without return. Both possibilities are indistinguishable to us, imprisoned as we are within our cosmic bubble of light. Cosmic topology adds yet another twist. The universe could be multi-connected, meaning that space might fold or twist in exotic ways. It could loop through dimensions we cannot perceive. Imagine traveling in one direction and seeing your own galaxy again, not because space curves like a sphere, but because it connects like a Mobius strip or a hall of mirrors. Light from distant galaxies might wrap around and reappear from the opposite direction, creating duplicate images of the same cosmic structures. The sky could be an echo chamber of infinity. In fact, some scientists have searched for these signatures, matching circles in the cosmic microwave background that might reveal such loops. So far, they've found none. But the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Our instruments see only so far, and beyond that, geometry becomes imagination. Still, the human mind rebels. We crave borders, edges, limits, something to hold on to. Infinity feels unnatural, even offensive to intuition. We evolved in a world with horizons, oceans, and mountains. Everything ends somewhere. The infinite mocks that instinct. It is not a place we can walk to, or measure, or contain. It is an idea that stretches our minds past their breaking point. So we invent metaphors to cope. We picture corridors of galaxies receding endlessly, mirrors reflecting mirrors, light bending back on itself. We describe a universe like a video game map that loops when you cross the edge, or a sphere so vast it feels flat beneath our feet. These images comfort us, but none of them capture the truth. The truth is stranger, because the universe doesn't have to look infinite to be infinite. It just has to keep going. If the universe truly is infinite, then every possible configuration of matter must exist somewhere. Every pattern, every atom, every version of you. Somewhere, far beyond the observable edge, there may be another Earth, identical down to the breath you're taking now. And another, Infinite repetition in an endless tapestry. Not parallel universes, but parallel regions within the same infinite cosmos. Infinity doesn't just mean size, it means inevitability. Yet infinity isn't just unsettling, it's also strangely intimate. If the cosmos loops or folds, it means every particle, every photon, every breath is part of a single continuous whole. There is no outside, nothing beyond. The same space-time that holds your body together also curves around galaxies billions of light years away. You are woven into the same infinite fabric. But this unity carries a hidden melancholy. If space has no edge, then neither does isolation. There is no cosmic shore to reach, no final frontier where we can stand and look outward. We are forever inside, enclosed within the infinite. The explorer's dream and the philosopher's dread meet here. Boundless confinement. In this sense, the universe mirrors the human mind. Consciousness itself feels like a boundless space. Thoughts looping, returning, reflecting endlessly. Maybe that's why we can grasp infinity conceptually, but never visualize it. Our minds echo the universe's shape. Finite in capacity, infinite in potential. As we probe deeper, our equations become poetry. Einstein's geometry tells us the universe curves, but quantum theory whispers that space may be granular, pixelated at the smallest scales. Perhaps curvature itself dissolves there. Infinity replaced by a lattice of probabilities. What, then, is the shape of infinity if space is made of finite quanta? Maybe infinity is not a place, but a process, an unending potential for complexity, never completed, never resolved. We measure, calculate, map, and theorize. But each answer opens another door, another hall of mirrors. Every attempt to describe the universe's shape turns back on itself, like light bending through gravity's lens. The more we learn, the more we sense that the cosmos is not something we can stand outside of to see its form. We are inside the equation. We are part of the curve. And so, the question remains, if the universe is infinite, what is its shape? Is it flat, open, closed, or something else entirely? The evidence points one way, imagination another. We circle between certainty and mystery, always returning to the same place, like travelers on an infinite loop. Perhaps that's the final paradox. In trying to define the shape of infinity, we've drawn a mirror around ourselves. If space is infinite, you exist infinitely many times, right now. Not in some distant future or alternate dimension, but in this very instant, scattered across a boundless sea of universes. Somewhere, a version of you is reading this line with the same heartbeat, the same fleeting breath. Somewhere else, another you hesitated for a fraction of a second longer, changing the course of an entire world. Infinity is not generous. It is mercilessly complete. In an infinite cosmos, every possibility not only can exist, it must. This is the strange logic of the inflationary multiverse, a theory born from the same physics that gave us the Big Bang itself. In the earliest moments of existence, during that brief storm called cosmic inflation, space expanded faster than the speed of light, doubling over and over, ripping quantum fluctuations into vast regions of isolated reality. But inflation, according to some cosmologists, never truly ended. It may still be happening, eternally. Each time inflation slows in one region, that pocket cools and becomes a universe like ours. Meanwhile, elsewhere, inflation continues, spawning new universes endlessly, each one a bubble in an infinite foam of creation. This idea, eternal inflation, transforms the Big Bang from a singular event into a never-ending process. Instead of one universe with one beginning, there may be an infinite number of them, each born from the same cosmic field, but evolving with different laws, different constants, different outcomes. The multiverse isn't a collection of separate realities scattered through pre-existing space. It is the expansion itself, splitting and blooming forever. Imagine a field of energy, everywhere and nowhere, called the inflaton field. It's like the soil from which universes sprout. Quantum fluctuations make certain regions decay faster, releasing their energy to form space, matter, and time. A Big Bang within a bubble. But outside that bubble, the field keeps inflating, faster and faster. Each decay creates new bubbles, which can themselves give rise to more. The result? An infinite fractal of universes, some colliding, some drifting forever apart, each sealed off from the others by space expanding faster than light could ever travel. Our own universe may be one of these countless bubbles, floating in a cosmic ocean of others. Some may be small, others infinite. Some may have 2 dimensions of time. Others may never form stars at all. The laws of physics we know, the charge of the electron, the strength of gravity, the speed of light, could vary from one bubble to another. In some universes, atoms might be impossible. In others, life might emerge under alien skies. In this vast ensemble, our cosmos is just one melody in a symphony of infinite variation. And yet, if infinity is real, every melody is played endlessly. Every note repeats. Every combination of matter, mind, and moment reoccurs. That means somewhere out there, separated by an impossible distance, is another Earth, identical in every detail, and another slightly different, where you blinked half a second later, where your favorite song never existed, where your parents never met, where the stars overhead glow in unfamiliar colors. The math doesn't just allow it, it demands it. In a spatially infinite universe governed by quantum randomness, every possible configuration of particles must appear infinitely often. There are infinite versions of you, infinite Earths, infinite histories, each replayed across eternity with microscopic variations. The difference between reality and imagination becomes meaningless. Both are inevitable outcomes within infinity. But here lies the paradox that cracks the human soul. If every possible version of you exists, what makes this one matter? If the universe is infinite in scope and variety, then identity becomes repetition, and destiny becomes coincidence. We are not unique, we are inevitable. At first, this thought suffocates. The self begins to dissolve into statistical noise, a pattern repeated endlessly, a flicker among trillions of mirrors. Yet perhaps the meaning of existence doesn't fade in infinity. It transforms. Meaning may not come from uniqueness, but from awareness. The ability to recognize the infinite and still feel wonder within it. Still, the science stretches further than comfort allows. Eternal inflation implies that the process never ends, that somewhere, right now, universes are still being born. The energy of the inflaton field continues to expand exponentially, and in some regions, quantum tunneling causes pockets of lower energy, new universes to form. These pockets inflate into new realities, each one disconnected from the rest. The overall multiverse grows without limit. Infinity breeds infinity. Physicists like Alan Guth, Andre Linde, and Alexander Vilenkin have wrestled with this cosmic cascade. Guth, who first proposed inflation in the 1980s, later realized it could never completely stop. Linde took it further, describing a self-reproducing universe, where inflation is like a tree endlessly sprouting new branches. Each branch is a cosmos with its own physical constants. Some are sterile, others vibrant, but all are born from the same root, the quantum vacuum. And what of that vacuum? Even it is not nothing. The quantum vacuum hums with energy. Virtual particles flicker into being and vanish in less than a trillionth of a second. It's a storm of potential, a cosmic sea of probability. When fluctuations in that sea become large enough, they create new regions where the laws of physics take hold. In that sense, universes are like quantum ripples, spontaneous expressions of the vacuum's own instability. To us, each universe feels isolated, but from a higher perspective, if such a perspective could exist, it is all one unbroken whole, a single, infinite field, breathing universes in and out of being. And if we are part of this eternal process, then beginning and end lose their meaning. There is no first universe, no last. The multiverse has no origin point because inflation is eternal into both the future and the past. It's a self-creating structure. Existence feeding on possibility. Possibility birthing existence. This is where science bends toward philosophy. If everything that can exist does exist, what room is left for choice? For chance? For meaning? Are we merely inevitable arrangements of atoms? Or does consciousness play a deeper role? The universe observing itself into being. Some physicists, like Max Tegmark, suggest the multiverse is not merely physical, but mathematical, that every consistent mathematical structure exists as a universe in its own right. In this view, reality is not built from particles, but from logic itself. The multiverse is the set of all possible mathematical truths, and our universe is one equation among countless others. Consciousness, then, is simply what it feels like to be that equation from the inside. But if everything exists, does anything truly exist? If infinity contains every possible truth, it also contains every possible lie, every tragedy and every salvation, every outcome realized somewhere. Infinity is not merciful, it is indifferent, and yet, indifference does not mean emptiness. Meaning is not given by the cosmos. It is created within it. In a multiverse of endless versions of you, the significance of this one, the you reading these words right now, lies precisely in your awareness of that infinity. The realization that your existence is both infinitesimal and infinite. You are the moment the universe pauses to ask itself what it is. Still, the paradox deepens. If inflation never ends, does that mean entropy, the arrow of time, also has no limit? Or can universes eventually decay, collapse, or merge back into a larger structure? Could this infinite field, after spawning countless realities, one day fold back upon itself? Some theories hint that it might. If the quantum vacuum has a true ground state, a minimum energy level, then eventually the inflating regions could tunnel into it, halting the expansion and triggering a vacuum decay. A new kind of universe could form, not as a birth, but as a transformation of everything that ever was. In that sense, the infinite multiverse might one day collapse not into nothingness, but into oneness. And what would that mean? A return to symmetry? A rebirth of time? Perhaps the cycle of inflation and collapse has no beginning or end, just eternal rhythm, each collapse giving birth to another burst of infinity, like cosmic breathing. Expansion and contraction, birth and death, being and non-being eternally entwined. If so, then our existence is not a random accident in an infinite void. It is a single breath in an endless song. The awareness of that breath, fleeting, fragile, conscious, gives it meaning beyond measure. Look again at the night sky. Each point of light might be one universe among countless others, its stars mirrored endlessly across the inflationary sea. Somewhere, another you is looking back, wondering the same thing. Somewhere else, another version of you never wondered at all. Infinity doesn't erase you. It multiplies you until meaning becomes a choice. You exist in all possible ways, but only here, only now, can you choose to look at the infinite and feel awe instead of fear. Because maybe, just maybe, the infinite multiverse is not the end of meaning. It's the proof that meaning was never given. It was always created from within. Infinity may not be out there. It may begin in the quantum foam inside you. That's not poetry. It's physics. At the smallest scales of reality, far below atoms, below quarks, below anything we can see, space itself trembles. It's not smooth or still, but restless. This is the quantum vacuum, the foundation of existence. What we once thought was empty space turns out to be an ocean of uncertainty, where particles flicker in and out of being, where fields hum with invisible potential, and where energy never truly rests. If infinity has a birthplace, it may not be at the edge of the universe. It may be right here, in the infinitesimal. In quantum mechanics, nothingness isn't nothing. It's the most crowded thing imaginable. Every point in space, no matter how small, contains infinite possibilities. Particles exist not as objects, but as waves of probability, smeared across space, vibrating with countless possible outcomes. When we observe them, one possibility becomes real, and all others fade. But where do those lost possibilities go? In a universe governed by quantum rules, nothing is truly lost. Those unchosen realities don't vanish. They branch. Each represents a different version of events, another timeline, another outcome, another world. This is the heart of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Every quantum event splits reality into a multitude of parallel branches. Every time an electron spins up instead of down, every time a photon passes through one slit instead of another, the universe divides. To us, it seems like only one outcome happened. But according to quantum theory, every possible outcome exists somewhere, equally real, equally infinite. If this is true, infinity isn't just cosmic. It's quantum. The universe doesn't merely expand across space, it expands across possibility. Every decision, every random fluctuation, every quantum interaction creates a new strand in the infinite tapestry of existence. The Big Bang might have birthed one universe of matter and energy, but quantum mechanics may have birthed infinite realities within it. But there's a problem, an elegant, terrifying one. The wave function of the universe, the grand mathematical object that contains every possible state of reality, evolves smoothly and deterministically according to the Schrödinger equation. It never collapses. It never chooses. It contains everything that could happen, all superimposed. So why do we experience only one outcome? Why does consciousness perceive a single definite world instead of an infinite blur? The answer, or at least the bridge to it, lies in quantum decoherence. When quantum systems interact with their environment, their delicate superpositions break down. The act of being entangled with countless other particles effectively hides the other possibilities from view. They still exist, but they no longer interfere with the one we inhabit. In other words, we don't destroy the other worlds when we observe. We simply lose contact with them, and that realization bends reality into something far stranger. The infinite isn't just beyond the cosmic horizon. It's layered within every interaction, every breath, every flicker of thought. Every moment contains infinite variations, each separated by the fragile boundary of decoherence. You are not living in one reality. You are living in one strand of an infinite weave. Physicists like Hugh Everett, who first proposed this interpretation, understood how radical it was. He suggested that the universe never collapses into one outcome. We do. Consciousness, or at least observation, divides experience into slices of infinity, each with its own version of events. Reality, then, is not a single unfolding line. It's a vast quantum tree, growing endlessly in every direction. Every decision you make, every random fluctuation of a particle, splits the tree again. The total structure is infinite. But you, as an observer, only ever see one path. Here, science begins to blur into philosophy. If every possible version of you exists, then who are you? Are you the sum of all your infinite selves? Or just one flicker in the endless computation of the cosmos? The wave function doesn't care. It holds all outcomes equally, all histories weighted by probability, none more real than the others. Infinity doesn't need permission to exist. It simply is. But perhaps it needs something else. Awareness. Because without observation, quantum mechanics gives us only probabilities, not experiences. The act of measuring transforms the possible into the actual. Without an observer, there is no collapse. And so, a new question emerges. Does infinity need us to exist? Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest yes, that consciousness itself is part of the measurement process. The observer effect hints that reality doesn't become real until it is observed. Before observation, everything is a wave, a ghostly superposition of all states. After observation, one branch crystallizes into experience. If true, then reality is a partnership between the universe and the mind. Infinity folding into perception. But that idea opens an even deeper paradox. If observation is what gives the universe form, what observes us? Does the cosmos require awareness to define itself, or is awareness simply another product of the infinite quantum field? Are we the consequence of infinity, or its cause? At the smallest scales, the distinction fades. Quantum fluctuations are spontaneous, unpredictable, yet perfectly lawful. They have no cause, yet they give rise to everything. The birth of particles, the creation of light, the formation of stars, all begin with quantum uncertainty. Even the universe itself, as many cosmologists believe, may have emerged from a quantum fluctuation, a ripple in the vacuum, magnified by inflation, blossoming into everything we see. From infinite uncertainty came infinite reality. In that sense, infinity and quantum mechanics are not opposites. They are reflections, Infinity gives quantum mechanics its endless range of possibilities. Quantum mechanics gives infinity a way to express itself. The cosmos is the sum of infinite uncertainties collapsing into fleeting certainties. The infinite becoming finite, moment by moment. But this raises a haunting possibility. If quantum reality is infinite, then even within one universe, there may be infinite versions of history. Not across space, but across probability. Every time something could have happened, it did. Somewhere in the wave function. The structure of reality becomes a kind of infinite interference pattern. Galaxies shimmering as probabilities, collapsing only when observed. And maybe that's all we ever experience. The collapse of the infinite into the now. Our perception, our memory, our identity, all just snapshots of a wave collapsing over and over again, giving shape to the unshaped. The present moment isn't a point in time. It's a bridge between infinities, between what could be and what is. From this view, even death, even loss, even the end of stars may be temporary. In the grand wave function, all possibilities persist. The sun may burn out here, but somewhere else in the infinite structure of quantum reality, it still shines. Somewhere else, you are still reading, still breathing, still alive. Infinity does not erase endings, it absorbs them. Physicist John Wheeler, who coined the term quantum foam, once said, "We are part of the universe that has become conscious of itself." Perhaps this is the true meeting point of quantum and cosmic infinity, not in equations, but in awareness. The quantum vacuum may hum with infinite potential, but consciousness is the mirror through which that potential becomes real. Infinity may need no edges, no limits, but it finds its reflection only through experience. In this sense, every act of observation is sacred, not because it changes the world, but because it selects one version of it. Every thought, every glance, every moment of attention defines a reality out of countless alternatives. We are the architects of infinity's focus, the instruments through which the universe collapses itself into form. Yet, this truth cuts both ways. If reality depends on observation, then what is the universe when nothing observes it? Between moments of awareness, does it dissolve back into pure probability, waiting to be measured again? Or is the act of existence itself the ultimate observer? The cosmos observing itself, endlessly aware through every conscious being it spawns. We cannot step outside the equation to see the whole. We can only infer it from within. Our instruments measure probabilities. Our minds translate them into meaning. But the deeper we look, the more we see mirrors. Infinity nested inside infinity. Observation within observation. Reality folding back upon itself like a cosmic fractal. Perhaps that's the final revelation. Infinity was never a place beyond the stars. It was always within us. Within every atom, every thought, every act of attention. The universe is infinite not because it stretches forever, but because its smallest parts contain endless potential. The quantum and the cosmic are not separate scales of reality. They are the same mystery, seen from opposite ends. If you could zoom infinitely far into a particle, you would find not a point, but a storm of possibility. Space itself trembling with creation. If you could zoom infinitely far out, past galaxies and voids, you'd find the same pattern repeated. Ripples of probability forming stars, galaxies, and minds. Infinity above. Infinity below, one reflecting the other. And maybe, just maybe, the reason we can sense infinity, the reason it haunts our thoughts and fills us with awe, is because we are its expression, the quantum universe dreaming itself awake. If observation shapes reality, does infinity need us to exist? Or are we just the part of infinity that finally learned to ask the question? Maybe the multiverse isn't out there. Maybe it's what we are. That idea strikes like a pulse from somewhere beyond thought. For all our telescopes and equations, we keep searching for infinity in the stars. Yet, what if it's been staring back through our eyes all along? What if the mind itself is the instrument through which infinity becomes aware of itself? Not a byproduct of matter, but a reflection of something deeper. The same pattern that sculpts galaxies and quantum fields, echoing in neurons and dreams. When we talk about infinity, we often speak in numbers, distances, and dimensions. But there's another kind of infinity. The one within consciousness. The infinite capacity to imagine, to wonder, to feel. Human thought stretches across time the way light stretches across space. A single mind can contain memories of the past, predictions of the future, and worlds that never were. Within the few pounds of matter in our skulls, the universe repeats its most sacred trick, turning emptiness into meaning. Some physicists and philosophers have begun to ask whether consciousness is truly confined to biology, or whether it's a fundamental feature of reality, like space or time. Could awareness be woven into the structure of existence itself, a property of the same quantum fields that give rise to stars? This is where the line between cosmology and philosophy dissolves, where equations give way to mystery. One theory, quantum consciousness, suggests that the mind may be entangled with the quantum world at its core. Inside every neuron, deep within microtubules that structure the brain's cells, quantum processes may take place. If true, then thought is not merely electrical activity, but a quantum computation, one that may resonate with the same infinite fabric that underlies space-time itself. Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, who developed the Orch-OR theory, proposed that consciousness arises when quantum superpositions collapse in the brain, integrating information from the quantum level into the classical world of experience. If this idea is right, then each act of awareness is not confined to the body, but reaches into the quantum substrate of the cosmos. Every thought, every feeling, every moment of perception is a bridge between the finite and the infinite. You are not simply in the universe. The universe is, in some sense, thinking through you. But there's another darker mirror to this idea, the concept of Boltzmann brains. According to the laws of thermodynamics, in an infinite amount of time, random fluctuations in the quantum vacuum could spontaneously create self-aware entities, disembodied minds arising by chance from chaos. No stars, no planets, just a momentary brain, complete with memories of a life that never existed, flickering into existence for a fraction of a second before dissolving back into nothing. The possibility is absurd, yet mathematically possible, and in a truly infinite universe, even absurdities become inevitable. The haunting question follows. If infinity allows for every possible configuration, including spontaneous consciousness, how do we know we're not one of them? How do we know our memories, our history, our entire cosmic story isn't just a quantum fluctuation pretending to be real? But maybe that question misses the point. Because even if we were Boltzmann brains, temporary bursts of thought in a sea of chaos, the experience of being conscious would still be real to us. And maybe that's all the universe ever wanted, to feel itself, even for an instant. Across philosophy, religion, and physics, one truth keeps echoing. Consciousness seems irreducible. You can measure the brain's chemistry, map its neurons, simulate its processes, but you can't step outside awareness to see it objectively. Consciousness is both the observer and the observed. It's the mirror in which reality reflects. And perhaps that mirror stretches as far as the cosmos itself. Some scientists now whisper about panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is not something the universe produced, but something it's made of. That every atom, every photon, every quantum fluctuation carries a trace of experience, a glimmer of awareness, infinitesimally small, yet collectively forming the mind of the cosmos. If so, then your awareness is not isolated. It's a local expression of a universal field, the infinite observing itself through finite form. Imagine the neurons of your brain glowing in the dark. Now imagine galaxies as neurons in a cosmic mind, their light connected by invisible filaments of gravity and dark matter, pulsing with energy. The universe looks eerily like a brain. Simulations comparing large-scale cosmic structure and neural networks reveal nearly identical patterns. Clusters connected by filaments, separated by voids, exchanging information across scales. Perhaps it's not a coincidence. Perhaps structure and awareness are reflections of one process, complexity reaching self-recognition. In this vision, infinity isn't an abstract number. It's the living architecture of consciousness itself. Every thought we think, every dream we dream, every spark of awareness is part of an infinite continuum. We are fragments of infinity, temporarily forgetting we are whole. Then comes another theory, one even more mind-bending, the simulation hypothesis. If the universe is infinite in its computational potential, then it could simulate itself infinitely many times. Reality might be the projection of information, a cosmic code running on an unimaginable substrate. The rules of physics, quantum mechanics, relativity, entropy, might be algorithms, and consciousness might be the rendering engine that brings those algorithms to life. But if that's true, who or what runs the code? Some say it doesn't matter. In an infinite regress of simulations within simulations, the original programmer becomes irrelevant. Existence sustains itself. The dreamer and the dream dissolve into one. And perhaps that's the point. If infinity dreams itself, are we the dream or the dreamer? The deeper we look, the less distinction remains. The atoms that make up your body were once part of ancient stars. The carbon in your skin, the oxygen in your lungs, the iron in your blood. All were forged in the hearts of suns that died billions of years ago. Consciousness arose from those ashes. You are the cosmos remembering itself, rediscovering awareness after eons of silence. This realization is both humbling and exalting. It destroys the illusion of separateness. The infinite is not something beyond us. It's something expressing itself as us. When you close your eyes and imagine, when you love, when you fear, when you wonder, those are not isolated human experiences. They are infinity folding back into awareness. But if we are infinity observing itself, why do we feel so finite? Why do we experience limits, decay, and death? Maybe because infinity can only know itself through limitation. To perceive anything, there must be contrast, light and shadow, being and non-being, self and other. Without boundaries, awareness would dissolve into pure, undifferentiated existence. Perhaps the purpose of consciousness is to give infinity a way to see itself by becoming something finite. Through each of us, infinity experiences edges. The edge of a thought, the edge of a lifetime, the edge of love and loss, and through those edges, it learns what it means to exist. You are not apart from infinity. You are its experiment in self-definition. Now the scientific and the spiritual begin to merge. Quantum physics describes a universe that exists as potential until observed. Philosophy describes consciousness as the act of observation itself. Between them lies a strange symmetry. Reality and awareness are interdependent. Neither makes sense without the other. The cosmos gives rise to minds, and minds give rise to the cosmos we perceive. They are two faces of one infinite process. So maybe the multiverse isn't out there, floating in unreachable dimensions. Maybe it unfolds within every act of awareness, each thought creating its own branch of reality, each dream its own dimension. Consciousness may be the true fabric of the multiverse, weaving infinite threads of experience into the ever-expanding tapestry of being. If that's so, then death loses its finality. Awareness doesn't vanish. It reconfigures. Like energy, it transforms. In one branch of reality, your story ends. In another, it continues. In infinity, nothing is lost. Every life, every memory, every possibility exists somewhere, always. And that realization can either terrify or liberate us. Terrify, because it dissolves individuality into the vastness of everything. Liberate, because it means we were never separate to begin with. The infinite isn't indifferent, it's inclusive. Every thought, every act of kindness, every moment of awareness is a note in its eternal song. Look again at the night sky, not as an outsider gazing into endlessness, but as infinity peering through itself. Each star is a neuron in the cosmic mind. Each photon, a spark of awareness crossing the dark. And you, fragile, fleeting, conscious, are the moment infinity realizes it's alive. If infinity dreams itself, then every mind is one of its dreams, every life, a spark in its endless dawn. So are you the dream or the dreamer? Perhaps both, because in the end, there was never a difference. There was only one, infinite, aware, eternal, looking inward, and finding you. Infinity might not describe the universe. It might describe us. We've followed its trail from the birth of the cosmos to the trembling edge of quantum reality. We've asked whether space ends, whether time loops, whether consciousness itself might be infinite. And yet, after all the equations, paradoxes, and theories, one question still stands untouched. What is it in us that refuses to stop asking? Why does the human mind reach for the ungraspable? Why do we keep staring into the abyss of infinity, knowing we'll never touch its end? Perhaps because, somewhere deep inside, we recognize it. Infinity isn't foreign to us. It's the rhythm of thought, the echo of imagination, the way a single spark of awareness can hold an entire universe within it. Maybe that's the secret all along, that the search for infinity is really the search for ourselves. We began with the Big Bang, or what we thought was a beginning. A flash of energy and time, a moment when everything exploded from nothing. But as we looked closer, the edges dissolved. The universe might have been infinite from the start, an endless field shifting form rather than being born from void. Inflation, quantum fluctuations, cosmic curvature. Every model we built only deepened the mystery. Infinity was never something we could stand outside of and measure. We were always inside it, breathing its air, thinking its thoughts. Science gave us glimpses of the infinite in every direction. The cosmic microwave background stretched across the sky, a relic from when space itself was young, a reminder that light, too, can be a fossil. We found that space may be flat or curved or looping, that the observable universe might be a tiny island in an ocean too vast to chart. Quantum mechanics whispered that infinity exists in every moment, in every particle, as probabilities branching into endless possibilities. Each theory, each discovery, didn't reduce the infinite. It expanded it, folding wonder deeper into wonder. But even as science mapped the outer universe, something mirrored it within. Consciousness, that fragile, persistent light behind the eyes, proved just as elusive, just as vast. We discovered that the smallest unit of awareness contains as much mystery as the largest cluster of galaxies. The brain became a cosmos, the cosmos became a brain. We found infinity in equations, and again in dreams. Maybe that's why we keep searching, not to reach infinity, but to remember it. Every question we ask pulls a thread that connects the stars to our own thoughts. We are not explorers of the infinite. We are its expression. When we wonder about the edge of the universe, we are infinity asking about its own boundaries. When we stare at a galaxy millions of light years away, we are its consciousness, looking back at itself through time. Even the limitations that define us, mortality, ignorance, impermanence, might be part of infinity's design. Infinity cannot know itself without experiencing the finite. It needs edges to understand boundlessness, silence to appreciate sound, death to give meaning to life. Through our fragility, the infinite becomes aware of contrast, and through contrast, it learns to see. The most profound discoveries in science always circle back to humility. The more we uncover, the smaller we seem. Yet somehow, that smallness feels sacred. We are specks of carbon asking questions that even the stars can't answer. We are the brief flicker of consciousness that dares to name eternity. And maybe that is what makes us infinite. Not our size, not our duration, but our curiosity. Infinity is not only measured in distance or time. It lives in attention. When a mind contemplates the universe, something miraculous happens. Awareness bends back on itself, like light reflected in an endless mirror. The cosmos begins to observe itself. In that moment, the infinite is complete. Even if infinity can never be proven, the pursuit of it reveals what's most extraordinary about us, our refusal to accept limits. We build equations to describe the unseeable, metaphors to describe the indescribable. We imagine the edges of space while standing in one small corner of it. And though our lives are brief, our reach is eternal. Every discovery, every question, every heartbeat of wonder ripples through time, carrying forward the same impulse that began when the first creature looked up at the stars and asked, "Why?" And maybe that's the answer. Maybe infinity isn't a property of the universe at all, but a reflection of consciousness. We call it infinite, because the moment we think we've found its end, it expands again, like thought, like imagination, like love. The universe doesn't just contain infinity. It behaves like it. It is infinity thinking. And we, tiny, fragile, brilliant, are its neurons firing across the void. Physicists once described the universe as finite but unbounded. Perhaps the same is true of us. We are finite in body, bounded by time, yet unbounded in mind, in dream, in the capacity to imagine beyond what is. We are the meeting point of the measurable and the immeasurable, the visible and the eternal. So what happens when infinity ends? Does it collapse or transform? Maybe there is no end, only a change of form, like exhalation turning into breath again. Perhaps the universe itself breathes, expanding and contracting across epochs, inhaling existence, exhaling possibility. Infinity folding into itself, over and over, like a cosmic tide. Somewhere, billions of years from now, when the last stars fade and time itself begins to cool, the universe may dissolve back into silence, not as death, but as rest. And in that silence, the memory of everything that ever was, every photon, every life, every thought, will remain as potential, waiting to rise again. Maybe that's the secret. Infinity isn't eternal expansion, but eternal renewal. The cosmos doesn't last forever. It reawakens forever. And in that endless cycle, so do we. Every mind that ever wondered, every being that ever looked up at the stars, is part of that rhythm. The same atoms that once burned in stars now form eyes that gaze back at them. The same forces that sculpt galaxies sculpt thoughts. The story never ends because the storyteller is infinity itself, and it keeps changing its voice. If there's a truth hidden within all the equations, it's this: the only thing greater than infinity is the mind that can imagine it. Because imagination is infinity in motion, the capacity to hold the unholdable, to glimpse what no telescope can see. When you think of infinity, you are enacting it. You become its mirror. So let this be the final paradox. The search for infinity was never a journey outward, but inward. The deeper we look into the universe, the more we find ourselves. The further we explore the mind, the more it begins to look like the cosmos. Infinity doesn't end. It circles back into consciousness, into curiosity, into wonder. Look once more into the dark sky. The stars are fading behind the light of your thoughts. The galaxies dissolve into ideas, and the universe exhales. For one brief, beautiful moment, everything folds into everything. Space into time, mind into matter, infinity into awareness. And in that union, a quiet truth emerges. The universe may not have been born from nothing. It may have been born from knowing, and that knowing continues through us, within us, as us, because the story of infinity was never about the universe expanding without end. It was about consciousness expanding beyond itself.